Essay number 4. Methods of fishing. Fish are caught in many different ways. They can be caught by hand, with a spear or with a bow and arrows, but more advanced societies fish with traps, lines or nets. Commercial fishing is based on traditional techniques. The real difference comes in the scale of operations. Commercial catches must be large to recoup costs. Many methods ensure that this is possible. Larger and larger vessels are used, and these can use larger nets. Acoustic fish finders, radar, position finders and much other expensive modern equipment are used to track fish both night and day, and factory ships are used so that the catch is quickly processed and fishing vessels do not have to return to harbor so frequently. 4 major methods are employed by modern fishing vessels. 1. Drifting. Drift nets hang vertically in the sea, like a tennis net. They are fitted with floats on the upper edge and weights below, and are usually placed just a few meters below the water surface where the fish will swim into the net. The fish are entangled by their gills and are unable to move either backwards or forwards because their heads are caught and their bodies are too big to get through. Drift nets are used to catch pelagic fish such as herring, sardines, pilchards, anchovies, sprats and mackerel. For herring fishing, each drift net measures 55 by 14 meters, 60 by 15 yards, and as many as 90 nets from a number of vessels may be used together to form a continuous curtain, stretching for 3 kilometers, 2 miles. Drift nets are used by powerful boats called drifters. 2. Trawling. The trawl net, a bag-shaped net whose mouth is kept open by outerboards or head beams, is by far the most efficient method of catching demersal fish like cod, haddock, plaice or sole. Its mouth has floats at the top and weights at the bottom, and the net is made stronger at the cut end in which the fish are caught. The net is dragged along the sea bottom by a trawler for about 2 hours, at a speed of about 8 km/h, 5 miles per hour. When the skipper is satisfied that a sufficient amount of fish has been trapped inside the net, the vessel stops and the net is hauled in. The normal length of a trawl net is about 46 meters, 150 feet. Its use is, however, restricted to relatively smooth sea beds, for irregular and sharp pinnacles on the bottom will tear the net. Rough seas and stormy weather also interrupt fishing operations and endanger the lives of the fishermen. Trawling requires much labor, and a large modern factory trawler may have a crew of 80 or 90 people, but normally trawlers carry about 30 hands. The trawler may operate from a fishing port, spending several weeks at sea at a time and only short periods in a home base, so that a deckhand on a trawler has a hard life. Trawling may be a seasonal occupation, as in Icelandic waters. Factory trawlers are equipped with refrigerating plants and canning facilities. Some, such as the Japanese vessels fishing in the Atlantic, may be away from home for months, processing the fish on the spot. Trawlers may send their catch ashore by craft that ply at high speeds between ports and the trawling boats, or may operate in a fleet with a large factory ship which processes the catch at sea. 3. Seining. Seine nets such as the hull seine and purse seine have intermediate features between drift and trawl nets. The hull seine is like a drift net, kept floating vertically in the sea like a wall by corks on top and weights below. After surrounding a shoal of fish, the net is dragged to the shore at both ends. The fish trapped in the net are then gathered immediately. The ring net, operated from small vessels, works in the same way. The purse seine is more like a trawl net, with a narrow conical end and wings of netting rather than outer boards. It is usually smaller and cheaper than a trawl and takes a smaller catch, but is more convenient for use by smaller boats. However, some very large purse seines used by large vessels can catch 600 tons of fish at a time. Although most seine nets are used close to the surface, they can, with some modifications, as in the Danish seine, be used very effectively for catching demersal fish too. The fish are directed into the net by the wings, which are fastened to long ropes. The ropes are then drawn to a stationary ship, forcing the fish into the center of the net. By closing the bottom with a drawstring, the fish are prevented from escaping beneath the net and the seine is finally hauled on board. 4. Lining. Line fishing was much more important before the invention of the nets mentioned above, especially the trawl. It is still commercially employed in certain types of demersal fishing, particularly where the sea floor is rugged and likely to damage trawl nets. It is also used for catching large fish like the tuna. Commercial lines are of two types: hand lines or hull lines and long lines or trawl lines. Each hand line has a single baited hook, cast from the deck and drawn up by individual fishermen when the float shows that the fish is hooked. Its commercial importance is limited because it is obviously slow and uneconomical for deep-sea fishing. However, it is most popular for sport fishing. Long lines may have as many as 500 to